flamboyance, which is very appropriate for today. Now, Les came up with this wonderful invitation for us, which is so amazing. And then I just sent her another bunch of, well, there was some overlap, but not very much. I discovered, and I'll get to this in a second, I discovered this new lovely resource online called Collins Dictionary. And they have lists of words. And you know what? They had a whole bunch of other ways to describe things. Now, my name is Judy Ann Baker. And did you know there is a tabernacle of bakers? And I bet most of you don't know the reason behind that. Do you know what a tabernacle is?
Yes.
Who answered yes? Okay.
A tabernacle is basically, from the Bible, a house of worship. A place to worship.
That is not the answer that I was looking for. That is one answer, but that's not what I was looking for. A tabernacle is a small booth where it was legal to sell your bread. Now, I thought that was rather unusual and interesting. So words are what we're all about in this group. And today we have two amazing people that we're going to be honoring. And then we're going to be sharing some lovely poetry, some refreshments, and an invitation for you, if you're not already a member, to become a member of this group. So with that, the first thing I'd like to do is we're going to be honoring one of our past presidents, one of our most gifted, although, you know, we are all gifted, but one of our most gifted members, and that is Miss Linda Reed. And Linda, stand up if you will. Now, if I read her entire resume, you're going to be here till, I think, 2034, but just the highlights. Linda has volunteered for Redwood Writers since 2009 when she was president. She has been a recipient of the Jack London Award, the contest general chair many times. She's been the chairperson of the play contest. She's directed plays for us. She is the coordinator of the Writers Salon, the Writers Circle, past coordinator of the Writers Salon. She's current coordinator of the Writers Circle, poetry liaison. Let's see, she's been nomination chair, general meeting presenter, and might I say a very good one, county fair coordinator, and a host for multiple launch anthologies. Now that's just what she's done for Redwood Writers. She is a writer. She has published novels, plays, poetry, fiction. She is a painter, and if you have not seen Linda's paintings, you're missing out. If you've ever been to her home, you've seen some examples of her work, but that isn't all. She is part of the board of directors for Sebastopol Center for the Arts and the Artist Workshop. She lectures through Osher, and she has been doing that since 2012. As I said, she's been a theater director. And I love your mantra. Live till you tilt, you are what you art. Linda, come up. Here we go. This is the first Fran Claggett Holland Award, and we're bestowing it on you. And I have to say, Linda has been such a joy to work with, and I hope you'll all join me in giving this doll a standing ovation.
Thank you, thank you. Well, unaccustomed as I am to speaking. I just have to say, I'm not going to cry. And if I do, it's okay, but I'm probably not, maybe. I'm so, Fran Cleggett received the first award. This is the Fran Cleggett Award, and she's a dear, dear friend, and it just really touches me to receive this with your name on it. So, really appreciate it. I joined Redwood Writers in 2009, and I was writing my novel at the time, and I didn't know any other writers. I didn't know anything about the industry. I saw this little ad in the paper. It said, Writers Association. So I went down, and it was in the back of a restaurant in Katati, and there were about 20 people there, and I went like, wow, this is cool. Somebody was very nice to me, and so I kept coming, and about 6 months later, they were looking to change their president, and that they'd had for 5 years, and I'd done a little bit of that work in the past, and I went like, well, maybe I can do this. And so I'm so glad that I did, and so I was president for 3 years, and that was great fun. This club, I love this club. It does so much. It's such an important arm of writers in our county. The Redwood Writers is the largest by far of any of the of the writers clubs in California, which is pretty amazing. And it's really because of members. It's because of you. It's because of people like Roger and Judy and Les and all of you who serve on the board and do all the work and the hundreds of hours that are put in, and without a doubt, I want to thank all of you for nominating me for this. I want to introduce my daughters. Will you two please stand up? These are my daughters, Denise and Kathy. Without them, I would be nothing. They have gotten me through a lot, and they are absolutely wonderful. I love writers. Aren't we wonderful? I mean, really, don't you just love us? Yes. I mean, we just keep writing, and we write prose, and we write poetry, and we get our books published, and we beg our families and friends to read it, and we don't become famous, and we go off and just write some more, It's just fabulous. I just love us. And I love this club, and I just think it's so wonderful, and I really appreciate everything. And for me, it's always been the people. But isn't that the way it is? In the end, you look back on anything you do, you're remembering the people. It's the people, it's the friendships, it's the hugs. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. It's the hugs. And I look at you, I love you, and we are so fortunate to have each other. And that's what this club is about. It's about having each other. So thank you. I'm completely honored. I have loved working with Les, with the poetry over the years, and Fran. Fran and Les have been just fabulous. Just keep pouring out these books. I can remember when we had, this club used to be one of the only clubs in California that was doing an anthology every year. And then we said, well, why don't we do poetry? And then Fran and Les said, well, why don't we do poetry every year? So now we're doing that. We do amazing things. We do amazing things at this club. So I love all of you, and I thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't get the pleasure. No, come on. Because we're on camera. I don't get the pleasure of doing this very often. I'm Roger Lubeck. I'm the president of the California Writers Club and a past president of this wonderful branch. And Linda deserves all kinds of awards, and a while ago now, maybe 2015, 16, she received the highest award from the club, which is the Jack London Award for Service. When did you get that, David?
I think it was 2012.
2012. So I don't have that because she has it, and it's a lovely plaque. But for the 50th anniversary, we initiated a lapel pin for every member who received the Jack London Award. It's an enameled, engraved lapel pin with a nice little magnet.
All right.
Yeah. So, congratulations, wear that with pride. And again, she's a real tribute to what this club is all about, frankly. Congratulations, Sarah. One other thing, I'm gonna upstage Les, which is hard to do. Yes. So when you speak today, please, you're being filmed. If you don't want to be filmed, tell me you don't want to be filmed. But you're being filmed, and what we need you to do is, we don't have a marked spot, but we need you to take your spot, and we need you to pause and look at me, and I'm going to go like that. And then you're going to say your name, and you're going to say what you're reading. Because often people get up at these events and they go right into talking and they race off. We don't know who they are and we don't know what they just read. And because we're recording this will become a public event from our branch so that we can celebrate all of you wonderful poets. And I'll leave with, if you're a poet and you know it, clap your hands. I know. That's that rhyming thing I learned in high school.
And what's the rest of it?
Oh, it's really bad. This is another little trick. This little guy moves up and down. And when you are speaking, you want to be sure that you'll be able to hear if you are near it or too far away. And if I come back over here, I'm fine. But we've got all different heights and sizes of people today. My next fabulous announcement is we have voted as a board to grant Fran emeritus status. And that means she doesn't have to pay anymore because we so value your contributions. And with that, you get to come up and read your poem.
Dimitri, don't do that. That's all right.
It's different looking out at all of you. Okay, my name is Fran Claggett. I was supposed to tell Roger that. Okay, thank you. I need to know whether you can hear me. My voice is it okay? Good, thank you. I want to thank you all for giving this Fran Claggett Award to Linda Reed. Linda was in my first class that I taught at Ollie. It was memoir class. And when I got finished with the class, I knew that there was someone very special in my class. And I went up and I said, you know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to have a small poetry group, and I'd like not to have to lead it. Would you be interested, Linda? And she said, yes.
I have to say what I did was I said, yes, Fran, that would be very nice. And then I ran home and said, Harry, Frank Clacker wants to be in a group with me. And it was Fran that got me to join the poetry group that I love. Our poetry group, we meet on Monday Poets. A lot of them are here today. And it was Fran. It was Fran. So thank you, Fran.
And Harry Reid was part of our first group. He was absolutely wonderful. I love Harry. And I carry Harry with me wherever I go. You see that little walker over there? That was Harry's. And it's now mine. So I love it. I would like to read 3 poems. That's what Les said I could do. If I came and I wore this, she wanted me to wear this. It only took me 45 minutes at home to find it. But she found it.
Doesn't she look fabulous?
I would like to read a poem that was selected by Naomi Shihab-Nye. Many of you know her as a poet, to be in the New York Times magazine section. I wrote it for one of my 2 sons. I have 2 sons who are both students of mine. And this was written by my student number 1, son number 1, Michael Franco. On taking the measure of your book. Tell me if you can't hear. Is it okay? There must be a way to enter your poetry, the way your words turn into meaning after meaning, into the depths of memory, into the silence of the beach, which of course is never silent, but it seems so when I am there alone. And then the birds come over the dunes, the sandpipers, silent in sand, creating the rhythm of your poem. And far out beyond my eyes, the great white pelicans. As I watch them, I see how I must enter your poetry, wings folded against the wind, as I slice again and again into the measure of your ocean, there where silence is translated into language. Yes. Michael is a wonderful poet, and he lives near Harvard Yard, 25 minutes to walk from Harvard Yard to his house. And about once a month, he has poetry and art covering the walls of his, what do you call those places where they used to park their carriage house. He has the carriage house readings every month. And of course, living so close to Harvard, whenever any poet of note comes to Harvard, he snatches them and brings them back. I would next like to read a poem that came to me by magic. It's called A Field Guide to Memory. And it's in 2 parts, but I'll just read part 1. The Bird Woman. No one else is alive who remembers. The future in the poem is not beholden to its past. Carefully I fill in the dates in April, only 1 birthday there, but March was busy with birthdays and doctors. It is March, and the poinsettia's red leaves are still hanging, creating a future that may outlast the calendar. Departures from the ordinary, the familiar, the prosaic, predictable as neurons in the hippocampus, move in the direction of tropes, undefined miracles, secrets, myths. Notice the visible quality of silence, drawing the line over the unsaid. End with the image, don't explain. The bird woman stands by the window, dreaming in cloud cover. Yesterday I went to a workshop on Zoom. I do a lot of Zooming from the Eastern Shoreboard. Some of the rest of you, Robin goes there all the time, and Barbara goes. They have wonderful poetic things, and there was a teacher there who said, my workshop is going to be all about the unsaid. And I thought, I've already done that poem. I have a poem on the unsaid. I didn't read it to them, but I thought it was interesting that so many of us, work with silence. How many of you have written a poem about silence? Okay, here we go. If you haven't yet, try it. The last poem I'm going to read, I thought I would read because it's very timely for many of us. It's called The Final Eclipse. If you follow Laurie Robinson's poem a day, you have already heard this poem or read it, because he printed it today. And then Les printed it. She's a poem a day person too. and she published the same poem. So I'm going to read it to you. If I were Rebecca Everett, I would say it because she memorizes all the poems. This is called Final Eclipse. It's in 3 parts. It's short. Part 1. That first eclipse shuttered the sun. Its colors purpled the sky-dark air. Stars trembled, and the people stood still. Part 2. When the sun disappeared during the hunt, the mastodon found refuge in the wide open space. The people watched the mountain fall into the water. As the penumbra darkened the plain between the shadow of the moon and the hidden sun, birds searching for their nests swept the sky in great scarves of ravened geometry, and the people covered their eyes. Part 3. Eons later, what does it matter to know that exotic particles operate against the wishes of gravity? That's what the scientist said. That's a quote. When you see the world you have lived in all these years darken before your eyes, you scan the sky for birds, but they have all flown toward the moon, and you know you are completely, inextricably alone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All this
Hi, everybody. I am Les Bernstein. Roger. And I thought I would start by telling you some quotes about what poetry is. So the first one's by Auden. He says, a poet is, before anything else, a person who is passionately in love with language. He also said, poetry is the clear expression of mixed feelings. Frost said, poetry is when an emotion has found its thought, and thought has found words. Christopher Fry says, poetry is the language in which man explores his own amazement. Alice Walker says, poetry is the lifeblood of rebellion, revolution, and the rising of consciousness. Plato, an oldie but a goodie, says, poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. And one of my favorites, Ferlingay, said, poetry is eternal graffiti written in the heart of everyone. And the last one is Marianne Moore, and she says, poetry is the art of creating imaginary gardens with real frogs. So I thought we would start this auspicious occasion off a little bit differently. I have what I call the Reluctant Poets Club. I have 2 charter members now, Rebecca Everett and Gail Kissin. And these are 2 people who write gorgeous poems and then tell you they're not poets. So I said to Gail, given you're not a poet, but you happen to be a songwriter, I don't know why you don't think that that's some form of poetry. What would you say about me asking you to write a poem, a song for this occasion? And she agreed. So, Gail Kissin.
I'm the one that set this up. Oh, joy. Look at you. Thank you, Les, Linda, Fran. When I wrote this poem, I was not in a state of joy, but you're all poets, so it should be fine. My name is Gail Kissin.
And the song is?
And the song is called Held Hostage. Tears, they fall to no witness. Love finds no destination, punching blindly through dark clouds. It's a desperate intention, useless from its inception. Endless war, relentless trouble. Is this all we'll ever know? Blood-soaked seeds under rubble cannot grow. Our wingless cries arise in sadness for all the wars that will not cease. We keep falling prey to madness. We can't keep warring our way to peace. I could be your father, I could be a mother. We share together this threadbare world. You could be my sister, you could be my brother. We're not the other. No, no, we're not the other. Choking dove cries out in anguish as she tenders her fragile plea. We are all of us held hostage to the lies of the war machine. I say the dream can be redeemed if we're willing to stop the killing. We'll be released to imagine a lasting peace.
So if you'd like to have the lyrics, you can email me and Gail will get me lyrics to that. And Joanne has cards if you want to be able to reach Gail. So Joanne is wearing the gorgeous mustard top with the red underneath, which is a very nice combination. Roger, I'm Les Bernstein still. We're now going to start our readers coming up. When you come up, make sure that the mic is in the right location, a maximum of 2 poems, and I think that's all I need to tell you. So our first reader is going to be Robin Gabbert. Where are you, Robin?
It's in the back.
Right in the back, here she comes.
Can I just ask if there are any open chairs, if you could raise your hand?
There's one next to Roger,
Just walk to the door.
and there's one over here.
Pay attention to where there are open chairs if you want a seat. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin Gabbert,
you'll be happy to hear I'm not going to be reading ekphrastic poetry for a change. You always hear that you should write about something you know, or sometimes you hear you should write about something you dream about. So these poems are based upon something I know, and also one is based upon something I dreamt. So something different for a change. The first one is called Kisses. 15, a milestone. The year I learned what it really was to kiss. Oh, I had kissed before. Made out in cars, on couches, tried on the experience with boys going through the same kissing motions. Lips together or mouths wide open with flopping tongues like eels on an exploratory mission. But at 15, a boy with freckles and a mischievous smile touched me with his tentative, unhurried, soft-seeking lips and gentle tongue. The universe drifted in a slow-moving arc around us. Eyes closed, I could feel only the pinprick of stars down my spine, could not see them spinning around us. I was spun into raw silk, immersed in a warm cocoon as I stood with him under my street lamp each night, hoping it would not be the last time, hoping to forever preserve a time when a kiss could make my bones light up like luminarias. And this is the one from a dream. The other one was true. This is called Now You See Him, Now You Don't. There was an old lover in my mirror when I brushed my teeth today. He stepped out of the shower, still looking youthful, in his 40s. He gave me a swat of his towel and a sweet, sloppy kiss. When I opened my eyes post-kiss, he was gone. I blinked again, wondered if I'd spit him down the drain with the toothpaste, or if he'd snuck out to go to work or walk the dog. I wanted to climb back into bed, close my eyes, see if it was a dream. If it was a dream, continue to the place I hoped it would go. Down byways of biceps, over to a hairy chest, thin slick of sweat, portending moisture to come later, lower. I tried to shake myself back into today, not wanting to return. I closed my eyes, sighed, wondered what tomorrow's toothbrushing would bring.
What a great way to start, toothpaste and kissing. Our next reader is Rita Sky Lane.
I'm Rita Sky Blaine. My first poem is Fissures. And that's not fishermen, that's fissures like splits. Look for them, fractures where the light pours in. You need that light, like lentil soup and seeded bread on a savage day. Light that warms the bones, tunes the heart, and clarifies the mind. That light, pure. Look for fissures inside. This poem is called What's Missing, and the epigraph is, peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. Stand in their place. What do they see? Rain sleeting down, people dashing for cover. We all seek protection and warmth. In Ukraine, just like here, squirrels store acorns. Palestine sunbirds hunt bugs for their babies. Israeli ibex snag leaves from the trees, everywhere the same, searching the way through life's puzzle. Why do humans choose bloodshed again and again? Aren't we taught when we're young, use your words? What's missing? Listen with care. Your very own self is speaking.
Wow, thank you. Our next reader is Linda Stamps. Hi, Roger. Linda Stamps. So we were asked to read 2 poems today, each of us. And what I'm going to do is read one poem, and I'm going to read it from top to bottom initially, and I'm going to read it from bottom to top the second time. I don't think I'll find a poem funny, but that was. Anyway, the title of the poem is Broken Open. Moments strung like pearls, bound by memories and miracles, clasped in pairs of opposites, shock and stillness, despair and hope, grief and joy, prayer beads, a mantra repeated, marking each plea offered from a heart laden with loss, circles of concentric time, then, now, when, a sea roiled with emotion. Seeing the luminous, I embraced grief like an old friend. Broken open. Like an old friend, I embraced grief, seeking the luminous. A sea roiled with emotion, then, now, when. Circles of concentric time, from a heart laden with loss, marking each plea offered, prayer beads, a mantra repeated, grief and joy, despair and hope, shock and stillness, clasped in pairs of opposites, bound by memories and miracles, moments strung like pearls. Our next reader is Linda Reed, our Renaissance woman.
Okay, so Les, thanks for setting this date. Goodbye, girls. Thank you for coming. My girls are. You're gonna listen to me first. Okay. Yeah, don't leave till I read, girls. Okay, Les is fast becoming the queen of poetry, and I know she set this day up, and it's really, really wonderful for us to be able to honor. I look out here, I see so many people. I just love you all. And back at the table back there. Come to the Apple Blossom art show. It's at the end of April, and there's a card back there. And also come visit my studio. I'm doing open studio, and it's in June, the first 2 weekends of June. So just come to my house. Okay, I'd love to see you. Okay, so I'm going to read 2 poems. All right, the first one is for spring. Nasturtiums. Does a nasturtium question its existence, the soul of its yellowness? Or what about pleasing? Does it care if you look what you see? Maybe it as a tree that falls in the wood. Who knows? Who cares? A seed from last year's withering vine, a cold and wet struggle through winter, a gradual warming of spring, a surge, bursting energy until voila, a dazzle of color, prolific abundance, more and more beauty on a binge. And then, what then? after the glow and the joy of color, a fading, a closing down to the end, only to begin again, a cycle. Is it satisfying? Does it matter how many witness the bloom? Anybody? Is it enough, the effort, the accomplishment? As we humans say, the journey. But then, do we even know what a nasturtium really wants? Thank you. This is called groped. Do y'all know the term groped? Groped. This has been the winter of wrinkles, pronouncement of age. So I didn't know this was happen. So I didn't know this would happen. Do you know what I mean? Do I grope how life really works? Life is about moments, like when I found myself unable to speak at the curtain dropped on Swan Lake, or when wonder engulfed me as I lay in the grass in the field near where Virginia Woolf lived, looking at the clouds, nothing more in the moment, in England, walking. And love. Loving is always perilous, but I'm a risk taker. My man was not a red rose. My man was wonderful and horrid, and I wouldn't give up a minute of him. I am sitting on a stack of words, sorting time between breaths, counting colors between sounds. Watch out, a poetry friend said. Sanity is just a click away, easy to follow the wrong God's home. Art is everything I am. Some say that art, and especially poetry, brings out what we've tried to hide. Often these days, I am a dialogue between two different feelings, sometimes driving holes in the dark. And you know what? I'm okay with all of this. Thank you.
I think Linda just took us to church. Our next reader is Pamela Heck. She's also another one of our multi-talented people. She has the most wonderful children's book about animals.
I think that's about right. I'm Pamela Heck. And sometimes it's the smallest little things that happen in life that generate a poem. This one, I walked into my bathroom one day and there was a teeny tiny little spider sitting on the mirror, and I wrote this poem. It's called Spider Relocation. Bad news keeps pouring in. I had no heart to kill today. I found her perched upon my mirror, perhaps to preen or just to snag a meal. A speck so small I almost didn't see. I am no fan of spiders, but this small thing required some inspection. Its minute body sprouting slender strands of leg like filament. I do not know what spiders think or feel, or even if, though captured in a cup, her frenzied circles showed distress. Released outside, she froze in place, then scurried off, perchance irate to trade her shiny mirror for gray cement. Now, this next poem, many years ago, I studied yoga with Swami Vishnu Devananda, and he told his students a little parable about a silly frog being swallowed by a snake. And so this poem is aptly named, I'm Being Swallowed by a Snake. The Buddha urges, be awake, but frog, unconscious of the snake, whose innards now massage each toe, seems unaware where he must go. Oblivious of his own behind, the frog has other things in mind. Looking out, his end is not in sight. And so he thinks it must be right to look ahead to one last feast. There's time for one more fly, at least. Just then, he sees one buzzing by. Last flick, last fly, then gulp, goodbye. Buddha fasted in search of bliss, but a frog would rather go like this.
Our next reader is Susan Church Downer. Finally, I have a face to the name.
I know. Thank you. I'm Susan Church Downer, and my first poem is It Was a Song. I also wrote a song for you. It was a very good song, but we had a bit of a disaster backstage. Melody, or as she wanted to be called, the Melody, such a diva, had a sudden attack of stage fright and refused to appear. Pleading and flattery and threats had no positive effect. "Save yourselves," she whispered, slipping into the ethereal cocoon that had brought her to me, retreating to her birthplace, the vast land of memory, getting smaller and smaller until the lyrics, untethered now, fell out of formation, wandered around in confusion for several minutes. The strongest words took off to find a writer who could keep it together. The second string went out for a smoke and never came back, leaving only the conjunctions scattered about in grumbling piles, wondering if they'd still get paid. It really was a great song before all that happened. And this one I thought was appropriate for writers. It's called Writer's Block. Trying to write, abandoned by inspiration, my brain blank, I've come up empty again. I read my other pieces, hoping to jumpstart some passion, and they bore me. I look outside for material and can't find the juice. Everything I write is crap. Everything I've ever written is crap. Everything I write in the future will be crap. Who do I think I am? Then later, when I'm otherwise occupied, bits of dialogue, opening sentences, silky narratives, and fascinating plot lines swirl around unbidden, inconveniently demanding attention, like unexpected guests arriving in the middle of a family quarrel. Awkward, but welcome, bringing respite and gifts to be opened later.
I've been practicing Abby's name. I'm going to do it now. Our next reader is Abby Bogomolny. No? Perfect? Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Abby Bogomolny, and I am reading a poem called Swept. Even the sweat of July could not stop us. The windless, stifling afternoon, fraught with a white-hot sun and teabag humidity in a quiet little town, fevered, baked, and soggy, we were close, water oozing from our paws, indoors with a fan blowing, or outdoors in the porcelain bathtub beneath giant pecans, spiraling lianas, and green lush life, awaiting 4 o'clock rain. Later, under the crescent moon, you pointed to the Pleiades on St. George Island. Nothing could stop us from going camping in my pickup off the Florida Panhandle. The muggy pine flats were deserted, as were the wide, soft beaches, swept into dunes by Gulf winds that made sand fleas burrow. For 8 sweaty miles we hiked, hauling our water to the bay side of the island, where the only well belched a sulfurous brine. When the sun dipped low and long wispy clouds went wild in a display resembling the color of salmon, golden jewels, and pokeberries, ospreys and pelicans dove down to the same liquid dinner table. Above an oyster reef, we stood in the brisk bay wind that dried the sweat and kept the mosquitoes from a feeding frenzy with us on the menu. Your eyes followed gull-billed turns while I painted swirling pastel clouds, and we sighed with contentment as folks from Alabama drop down the map to twang and sip beer on vacation. We were real good then. And this is a short one here called Rise. Imagine waking up, knocking and hissing. You could rise like steam, straining pipes to the first, then second floor. You could sputter multiple languages and be called brilliant. Or you could just lie in bed, look around the room in the dark, unable to change your grainy swordfish night. If all the hoopla seems to belong to others, friends, laughter, fun you missed, maybe it's because your prime time sits at the end of tomorrow's afternoon. When the pale sun rises, one moment is all it takes to use your treasure. Rise.
Our next reader is Anna Citrino.
So I'm Anna Citrino, and I'm going to read a poem called Seen and Heard. I lived in India for 9 years, and I noticed how there's a lot of times when people don't really notice you. You're just something on the sidewalk. So this is a poem kind of about that idea. Seen and heard. As a child, I stared long at the hidden pictures in children's magazines, looking for the lamb inside the cloud, the face inside a pleat or tree, the button or missing bow that made one figure different from another. What satisfaction when I found them. How affirming it was to know that all those little details, the small realities of the world that begged to be seen, could be found, recognized, known. Today, when I peer out at the world, the pictures I see, its workers, day after day, rising with the sun to start their tasks. They feed the fire or prepare the mortar for the brick. Some lift bundled branches to their shoulders. Some hammer nails or paint the walls. Others sort through files, prepare documents, answer calls, gather round tables, or read books deep into the night. We do our tasks, we make the rounds. Still, things hide there inside the walls and trees, pressed inside the body's quiet folds of those we meet, waiting to be found if we know how to see. Cezanne looked for them, the hidden forms, the cylinder inside a tree, the sphere inside the head, the geometry of nature. And though his eyesight was weak, or perhaps because of it, he found the hidden shapes and painted them in planes of color so the rest of us could find them. Goya too painted the secrets others meant to cloak, the fear inside the peasant with arms uplifted, his white shirt glowing against night's darkness, the hidden faces of men turned away from view, their guns that showed the world in thickly painted strokes, the torment of a deaf world. We turn through the pages of time, and off we go each day to make our story, paint our picture, lift our bricks, do our work. Our eyesight is weak, our hearing faulty, but we stare at the pages anyway, trying to make sense of the world, hoping to find the form inside the forms, to hear the unspoken voices, or even our own voice inside the night's sky darkness we might be standing in. There we are, with our boards to nail, bushes to trim, our books piled beside us, with whatever it is we discover and make and love our world with. Our arms thrust up to the heavens, hoping someone will see us, hear us, hoping someone has looked long enough, hard enough to recognize us hiding there inside the pleats and paint of life. I'm a scuba diver, and this is about the amazingness of underwater encounter. It was a shadow to begin with, a large moving form, unidentifiable from such a far distance. A manta, I imagined, or some fabulous ray I swam toward that was also swimming toward me. Lumpy tail swishing slowly, fins swinging gently from side to side. Gradually the shape emerged from the deep, a strange, warm, silver disc of a fish, as wide as my body and several feet longer. A 2,000-pound living myth drifting my way, a mola mola. I paused in my movement, floating inside the vision of the astonishing fish, whose eyes pondered me with calm curiosity as I waited before its enormous presence, suspended in wonderment at our unexpected meeting. Everything inside me fell into a deep silence, time dangling in liminal space of the seen and yet unfathomable. A great door swung open as when in the moment of a smile flooding your spirit with light, you meet the one you will love for the rest of your days, and you fling back your eyes, curtained windows, knowing you've touched a mystery and life will never again be the same. The world has its brokenness, and we, in the poverty of our incompleteness, our difficult effort to create a wholeness as magnificent as the sunfish hold in its own body's surprising round presence. Some on this earth are lost in a grandeur of delusion. Divers understand to meet a mola mola is a rarity. You may never see one in a lifetime. No thought arising at the encounter, but the desire to humble yourself. Diminishment, a gift, allowing the extraordinary to be recognized when it emerges from the depth, presenting a quiet recognition of the ocean of awe we live inside.
The ocean of awe we live inside. Wow. Touched a mystery. Okay, our next reader is Fran Carbonaro.
There she is. Hi, Fran.
Hi. So this is my idea of church, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Fran Carbonaro. I dug deep into my archives for these two poems. I went through that experience of crap, everything looked like crap, and then I found these two. This first one is called Harbinger. A cloak of morning came to me today, her ivory and indigo adorned wings brushing the air like lace, her burgundy black beauty softening secrets at long last cracking open, those soul had hidden from psyche. Emerging from a cornice of winter's cold, she arrived, harbinger of a new spring, unlocking my innocence and joy, lodged somewhere between memory and deja vu. A young girl chasing butterflies, arms outstretched, laughter unleashed. Where could she be? Soft breezes returned me to the trail where I could find no sign of her dark grace in any direction. Had I missed the moment? I feared I had lost her then in the gulf between a child's joy and a woman's sorrow, but she persisted, landing at my feet. Then down the path she flitted, finally returning to this safe haven. Lifting my hand to the sky, she landed there, resting, wings closed, waiting, breathless, timeless. Wings fluttered open and she was gone. I spun around to see her swirling, spiraling up toward light and warmth. No longer alone, in tight circles they danced into an open sky. And this next poem is called A Photo. It is dedicated to my brother who left his body 10 days ago. The man that I've known the longest in my life and had the most complicated relationship with. And this is the first of many poems I've written for him. I've searched for the photo for several months now. The one of you and me in front of our big white house on a busy street in a small white city next to Oakland. Our city, featured years later in the suburban wall, an expose of our town's blatant discrimination. I had been confirmed at St. Leander's only hours before and was running a big dose of holy through my 10-year-old veins. How could I know it would be the only time in this life that I would wear a white veil with a white dress, with most of my family gathered around me in pride? You were dressed in black, and parked behind us was your very shiny black 51 Chevy Coupe. Tijuana tucked and rolled interior and cherry red. Dixie Peach Cruise straight up, hands stuffed in pockets, wearing that give me a break expression and ready to roll. Two ends of the same sorry spectrum, me in faux forgiveness and lost innocence, you in dark denial and toughing your way through. Playing our roles so well, we found relative safety in losing each other and traveling in opposite directions. If I could have stepped past my clean white borders of fear, turning to you, air slapping your testy mug and laughing, "Hey, little Cicely, you don't scare me," you might have knocked the veil off my head. I might have chased you around the lawn. Thank you.
So our next reader is Pamela Singer. She's going to jump the line because she has to leave early. Pamela, you still here? Okay, come on up. Come on down.
My way. Thank you, Les, for getting me.
You're welcome, sweetie.
That's okay. Well, my name is, let me get this right. Can you hear me okay?
Lift it, lift it.
Hi, Dr. Walters. I know her name, it's Nancy, but since she's been my vet for a million years, I always call her Dr. Walters. And she is the best vet in the world, though she's retired. Okay.
Come back to the mic.
Pardon? Oh.
That's for you.
Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if any of you have heard of Bruce Johnson. He is a sculptor who unfortunately recently died. And he made these giant sculptures out of redwood. And there were a bunch next to Center Hospital, and they burned up in the fire. And he was a genius. So on his land, I used to live in Timber Cove, and his family were my neighbors. And this is about, he built a little structure on his land, 30 acres, and he called it the Poetry House. So this is dedicated to Bruce Johnson. And, oh God, I keep screwing up, don't I? Sorry. The Poetry House. How's this? Good. Too loud now, right? The Poetry House for Bruce Johnson. Moves with tides, fog writes its walls, Blake, Keats, and Shelley suspended in air. Books tumbled onto shelves, pages written with fingerprints, quail feathers between the pages. Moths enter at night, write their history between wood and sheathing. In the center, a copper pentagon sundial without time, shelves carved with shapes of animals and moons. I sit on a bench near glass doors, patterns like leaves, knobs of copper burned blue, drips of turquoise of burnished sky. How did I get here? By horse, wolf, wave? Swept by wind, I forget to sleep. Spilling words, poetry house returns to earth, fallen into an eyrie taken by osprey, the sea. I polish walls and floors with my breath, ceiling with tongue, roof with fingers. Poetry house is one word upon another. Mountains opened, the self disappears. So that's one for Bruce. And I'm going to read one. It's hard to choose. When you write poetry all day long, it's hard to choose which one. So this one was written, I think it was last year when we had what was called the atmospheric river. So it's called All That's Left. Disintegrating soaked mattress and camouflage tent inside of road ditch. Atmospheric river ripped a dilapidated man who called this home to the Russian river's mouth into the vengeful sea. 30-foot waves cracked his body among seals split like slabs of meat. Shredded birds, boulders, tree trunks, twisted kelp masses enveloped distorted beaches. Mallards and coots scale wave mountains. Streams and creeks overflow, mudslides cover roads like thick fudge. Floods steal homes, furniture, clothes, as if from a dollhouse. 50-mile-per-hour winds toss them like children's toys. Wrecked Christmas tree ornaments and tinsel clusters like silver seaweed sparkle in downpours. Spirit rivers transform placid water into a swollen, massive beast. Underneath, fish swirl madness. Thank you.
Our next poet is Susan Gunter.
I'm Susan Gunter. Gunter, how is this with the mic? Okay. This first one is for Linda and for Fran. This is called Psychostasia, and I don't know how many of you know this, but in Crete, the Minoans used golden scales to weigh souls after death. And the heavier the soul weighed, the higher you would rise in Minoan heaven. So I am postulating that both Linda and Fran, when their souls are weighed, they would be very heavy and they would rise very fast. Okay.
You're not suggesting a diet, are you?
Souls. Thank you. The jellies fall over and over through the salty water in the Monterey aquarium. Gelatinous invertebrates trapped in glass cells. I breathe with their rhythms, my abdomen contracting as their bells squeeze, in, out, in, out. Their vapor trails hypnotize me. Gaudy organza reflecting light in neon colors. I wonder whether jellyfish souls weigh anything. Can they move the golden scales? I won't be here when mine is weighed. I think of the changes the sea makes in our blood, until finally we pull aside the diaphanous curtain of eternity. Thank you. This next one is called Bone Marrow Meditation. Now, exactly now, there are tiny white elderberry stars scattered on my black spiral steps, the ones I have climbed only once this season. Summer is never enough. It's a facsimile of my life, which now will not be quite enough. Maybe I ought to be angry. My unruly bone marrow cells have gone haywire. But then a survivor told me I could get enough. Summer, love, books. My mind, is there bone marrow in there, can keep the B cells, or is it the T cells, from spiraling out of control, from making my blood so viscous I can't see. If meditation fails, then it's blindness. And I can't play that head game just 2 years from my last bid to become Homer. So I will try mind control, me besting me. I found a bone marrow cleansing meditation on the web. I hold a golden dome over my head and flood my body with silver, washing hundreds of millions of cells clean until they glow like the tiny white stars on my bedroom steps.
Our next poet is Karen Fitzgerald, who's going to make the long trek from the back of the room.
Who's the one following?
Hello, I'm Karen Fitzgerald, and I'm going to read one poem for you today, and it's called, here we go, Walking into the Not Yet. She complained about forgetting words. Welcome to the aging process, said I, her older sister. I'm too young, it can't be that. Not yet. I assured her it was nothing. She hoped that was true, but feared the worst. We didn't know enough to know the worst, not yet. Time passed, the problem worsened. We saw doctors, they ran tests. MRI, CAT scans, cognitive questioning type tests. Nothing unusual, no diagnosis. Not yet. A year passed. It got more worse. Doctors said anxiety, stress. Sister entered therapies, underwent more tests. Still no diagnosis, not yet. I quit my job. I would make every day left a day in sister's company. We took hikes, did adventures to the beach, the mountains, the city. Fun 2-day adventures. Nothing she could talk about. But smiling, laughing, it was not lost to her yet. Soon our hikes shifted to walks along familiar paths. We were approaching the end, but not yet. They said her body would soon begin forgetting. That's how it goes. Aphasia. Simple tasks like brushing teeth, hair, washing face, it all disappeared. She lost all her language by the end of the next year, but it wasn't over, not yet. They said our daily walks were keeping her alive. She forgot how to stand, lay down, sit down, how to eat. She forgot how to swallow. But not walking, she never forgot walking. Doctors said it's what was keeping her alive. In her last months, we walked past paths where there were benches. We'd hold hands, just like when we were little girls. We'd sit in the sun, her head on my big sister's shoulder, my arm around little sister to keep her warm. She'd sleep. Me, I'd cry, quietly, softly, no sobbing, not yet. She lost all affect, but for that wonderful smile. When something delighted her, she'd smile big. Whenever I entered her house, she'd smile big. Otherwise, though, little sister no longer reached for my hand, no longer hugged me back. And that was okay. She embraced me with that smile. I think she knew, yet was close. Actually, I think she decided she was ready to leave. During the night of the day of our last walk, she went to sleep and left me behind in the not yet. Thank you.
Our next poet is Joanne Smith.
Never a place one wants to be, especially alone. In a hurry, they weigh me. No time to remove shoes, extra layers, glasses, ring, watch. Annoyed, my weight will be inflated. Wheeled to a small sterile space, single bed, medical charts, thumbtacked in random order to lime green walls. I respond to the instruction, you can lie down now. An air conditioner blows cold. My breath is labored and shallow. An invisible pressure on my chest, more terrifying than pain. Blood pressure high, oxygen low, scar on my left breast placid, but ever present. A masked nurse, I can only see her eyes, knocks but does not wait for an answer, pushes a lab cart through the door. I tell her I'm a tough stick, asks if she's the A-team. She may have smiled, but she pokes a needle and misses a vein 3 times, once in my helpless, bloodless hand, before the A-team arrives. Blood finally flowing, I ask for a blanket and am told I've put the gown on backward. It should open in the back, that's why you're cold. Embarrassed, I wonder if they flaunt this knowledge as a trade-off for kindness. One leaves, another arrives, pushing a different cart, complete with TV screen displaying blue blips and grainy green graphics, a rerun loop of my heart. The antenna stuck to pivotal parts of my chest, I think. How convenient for me to have put the gown on backward. More tests. Some repeated, but mostly waiting for another knock that ignores an invitation. My mind keeps bargaining that my life has been rich, and if this is the end, so be it. But I'm terrified, not ready, too much to repair, happenings not to be missed, a heart not fully opened. Tears roll into my mask. I can't pray. It seems so selfish to add one more plea when God is clearly not coping. After 6 cold hours, I'm discharged, poked, prodded, scanned. They think they know what it isn't. Your doctor will call you. One more test, and we think we'll know what it is. My experience in the emergency room. The second poem is called Write It All Down. Here's the thing about a poet's heart. You can put it in a vice and squeeze it to its last drop of essence. But if you don't kill it, no matter how slowly, it will fill again. It will grapple with the bramble of necessary contradictions, compassion or vengeance, curiosity or conviction, equality or submission, and in an honest quest for elusive truth, write it all down. Poets live on the edge, peer into the abyss, pause, then step back to secure footing on solid ground, and look up to the grandeur of the unexplainable and write it all down. And I'm missing my second page. How awful. Oh, Fran has it.
Fran has it. Of course she does.
So on one Saturday, my heart was drained by the inhumanity of humans, and on the next Saturday, in a room filled with the wise, soulful words of poets I love, I believed again. I can hold gnawing disillusionment in one hand, and with the other hand, cradle my heart, take a deep breath, feel the flow of fresh infusion pulse through my veins, to a heart beaten down, but born to beat on, willing to fill again, and compelled to write it all down.
So, in case you're missing a second page, Fran will have it. A likely story. Alicia Hug?
Let's see, I have this mic right? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Alicia Schooler Hug. And I'm so honored to be here and read my poem about a strong woman, because I see with Fran and with Linda, these are strong women, so this is the first poem that came to my mind, and I'll share it with you. Fueled by ages of maternity, woman propels eternity, conceives, nurtures, and releases sassy females, brazen males. She shapes destiny. A strong woman never sacrifices her children to war, to hate. Counsels her young instead, make peace, make love. Two-legged woman, fierce as a four-legged mammal, her womb a sanctuary, releasing and propelling its issue through life. You there, old men, warlords bound by power quest, free my sons, let go my daughters, they are not your pawns. Red spill up on earth, enabling your greed for power. Oops, I should write this out. Frank, now I'm on second page. Okay. Fraternity, maternity, eternity. A strong woman seeks pleasure, reaps pain, challenges tomorrow's mysteries, embraces the wind and flings it back into the ages, energized by nature's tuition, which is the cost of being a strong woman.
Oh, wow.
Since yesterday was Maya Angelou's birthday, I'm going to do my Maya Angelou poem. I haven't really prepared for this. I thought we were just going to do one, but I'll do this one. I'd like to walk with attitude, like Maya Angelou, to strut with head held high, tall and straight and regal, wearing sassy on my shoulders, daring life, stirring souls. To dance without restraint, free as her uncaged bird, arms embracing the wind, hips swaying in inner rhythms, born from shimmering lows to shimmering heights of primal energy, provocative. To sing songs with perfect pitch, releasing words seasoned by life, vibrant voice scattering crystals, stirring, sharing sound, healing listeners with spirit tonic, inspiring. I'd like to write like the master Shiro, mind-spun fresh prose and poetry, quenching parched minds, sharing wisdom gleaned from 10,000 nights of condemnation and 1,000 days of adoration, I'd like to rise.
Our next reader is Betty Less.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Betty Less. My first poem is about spring and about insects. I'm a zoologist. Forgive me. It's called Pale Morning Dun. Observe the mayfly, ephemerella, pale morning dun, crawling out of her body, emerging from the water to a beautiful spring day. She rests in alder shrubs, hardening her wings, producing her eggs, waiting for the ancient call to join the swarm, to mate. She flies low over the water, depositing an egg here and there, until she is spent. Is it sad or profound, such beauty, so brief, a lifetime in 3 days? What is time but relative, human life a heartbeat, compared to a redwood, compared to a rock? My second poem is about the cosmos and about stars. It's called Star Chatter. When Earth's face turns away from the sun, and in the darkness we can see the stars shining, listen, for they are talking too. Find a dark, silent place, lie down under a milky sky full of stars. Feel them draw close, cover you with a blanket of the softest bird down. Then listen again for the star chatter. There are various observations, wars, acts of kindness, exquisite beauty, terrible grief, what they make of our travails, what they hope we will do or not do to save ourselves.
I see you moving already, Breon. Breon Kelly Brennan.
I'm Breon Kelly Brennan. Oh, there we go. How's that? Breon Kelly Brennan, and I have 2 poems. And I joined Redwood Writers several years ago and ended up in a wonderful poetry group. And Fran Claggett Holland became my poetry teacher and mentor. And she's such a wonderful person and teacher, and she just infuses all my poems. So if you don't like these, it's her fault. Crow, for Fran Claggett Holland. Maybe it's not that hard, Crow. Maybe I can just say, I am afraid. Bow twice, present to us the shiny objects of your discernments that we dazzle into verse under your spell. The pull of your mate, already gone, thin as air across your wings. You circle, feather, and spread, tuck a little something into each opening mind. Her meaning in your world ruffles memories like a voice. We hold you with the small warm strings of our poems. Too soon will come the day when these anchors are no match for the wind.
Wow.
My next poem has a couple of quotes, so I'm going to be wiggling my fingers in the air to indicate the quotes. Linda Loveland Reed does not fit into a poem. For Linda. an artist, writer, director, art lecturer, mother of 3, notorious praise ducker, cheerfully herding us all towards community. Her life, a place where perfect could happen at any moment. Gads, who is this woman? You are what you art, she claims. Ha! A clue. She describes her watercolors gentle, yet can be assertive with a mind of its own. The earthiness and rich depth of oils carries her paintings of complex, spirited women in casual poses, unhurried and present, evolving into acrylic abstracts, untethered from a reference point, vivid and adventurous, full of movement. So, is she what she arts? She's all that.
God, you're tall. Our next reader is the remarkable Roger Lubeck. And Roger, please remember to say your name.
I know we were taking a break, though, so I mean.
Okay. How's that? Okay. These are kind of like these kind of poems. This is the first poem that.
What's your name?
Wait.
I just knew it.
My name is Roger Lubeck. Hello, I'm Roger Lubeck. This is the first poem, not that I wrote, because I wrote haikus as a kid. Remember that in 8th grade? Everybody, and I love that. I still write them. But it's the first published poem I had. It's called Let the Current Decide. The water is deep and as wide as my fear. So I take your hand across, lest the unforgiving current or history pull us under. Our lives, sapped of strength, are no longer resilient, no longer buoyant. Love, once sharp and intense, is a tarnished blade that releases your hand from mine. I feel the currents pull, swiftly deciding who goes ahead and who is left behind. Thank you. The Chinese principle of yin and yang represents a dynamic balance of opposing but complementary and interconnected forces. This is called Tai Chi. A friend told me his wife was his person. He said he was all in. My person is a true life partner, soulmate, lover, friend. My first loves were special, but they brought chaos into my life. I looked for greener pastures, ignoring the truth. My person was there all the time, uniquely right for me, providing love and companionship and her tolerance. Like a tailored suit, we're a good fit, yet with space to grow. She compliments and compliments while accepting my faults. Finding and recognizing your person can be difficult. Youth and age may blind us to the truth. Relations take time. My person brought balance and harmony into my being. Together we are more than our sum, her yin to my yang.
What a beautiful love letter. Our next reader is our president of Redwood Writers, Judy Baker.
This poem, Judy Baker, sorry, I did the same thing you did, Roger. Judy and Baker, and this poem is an homage to some of the things that we do on a fairly regular basis. Birds on a wire, tiny dots, black on white, symbols, clever collections of feelings and whispers, nested between covers, eager to please our eyes, racing along arteries, electrified blood, congregating, spreading, infesting the heart. Books gather and perch like birds on a wooden wire, jostling for prime position, politely pecking, clustered for a breath, poised for flight. Sometimes words spill from pages, depositing inky truth into the wild, or being shed like loose hair after a cut, onto the floor to be swept up, discarded evidence of life. A collection of thoughts dissolving into component parts. Polysyllabic alphabetical fuel, disrupting governments, rants, or whispers. Pleas and promises, wrenching wishes, twisted tapes, wound tight inside spew, broken filaments, shattered glass hearts, an emotion-driven drill, piercing, fathomless emotion, puncture, bedrock beliefs. Woven. Words string warp, weft of memories, packed tight, snugged against the beater bar inside my heart. Mostly true stories, twined.
You're getting the musical accompaniment.
Twisted threads interlock, painted rainbows woven, boundless palette unfurled, cascading colors bleed. Emotion, portraits, fragile art, explored in quiet breath. Meditation, infinity, paused. Thank you.
Our next reader is Rod Morgan. Come on down, Rod.
Hi, my name's Rod Morgan. My first poem was inspired years ago when a friend of mine lamented the fact that there was a lack of girl rock and rollers to inspire her musical ambitions. It's called No Girls Allowed. Joni Beth spent her formative years in awe of her cousin's music. When he took his guitar down to the oak by the railroad tracks, she'd sneak behind, hide in the bushes to listen and learn. She felt the same rhythm of the drivers as the locomotive rumbled past. One day she got caught and boldly stated, "Someday I'm going to be a rock and roll guitar player, just like you." "No, you can't," came the reply. "It's a boys' club, no girls allowed." With a firmness of mind, she defied that judgment. All the money in her odd job jar was traded for a lightly used Gibson. She practiced both night and day. Blisters formed, tape applied. She carried on until she too could play that guitar, just like ringing a bell. It wasn't easy being Johnny B. Good's kid, but fate was on her side. She was the offspring of two intensely talented musical folks. Her mama sang alto solos in the Sunday church choir. She was an angel in life, full of passion and hope. An aura of kindness emanated from her frame. Her heart exuded love and devotion, but she had a gap in her soul. Her daddy played blues guitar in a back alley bar. The scene made him tough. It helped him to cope. His heart had been shattered, his soul ragged. His passion for the music got him through the night, but he felt lacking. The first time her parents met, they each felt the spark. Dreams meshed, the rhythm of their lives merged, passions fused, individual strengths healed and enhanced. Young Joni was endowed with the best of both. Raised and reared in a magical world of musical ability, she was infused with double the talent and desire to achieve the goal. She fully embraced it all. Look out, world, here she comes, searching for her own fulfillment and rank. She tears down the No Girls Allowed sign, smashes it to kindling, kicks open the clubhouse door, and proceeds to tear it up. Beware, boys, there's nothing you do that she can't do as well, maybe better. A tempest with an array of instruments, she's loaded with songs, lovely and loud, soft and strong, deep and quaint. She tours around the country, lifting spirits, entertaining lives, inspiring love, generally leaving an enlightened world in her wake. Joni B. Good, her name in lights, has made the big time at last. And the last one is called Evening Dance. We stroll through the springtime sun, hand in hand, laze away our woes in the courtyard hammock, observe as soft-blowing breezes flutter grapevine leaves, their evening shadows dancing on the white stucco wall, amble along the garden path under an ivy trellis arch, waltz down the shaded lane, dance in the moonlit meadow.
How'd you know, Steve?
She told me.
Fran told you?
No, she has an iPhone. She told me where I am.
Yeah. So this is Steve Trenum.
This reminds me of something. Thank you, Les. And Roger, my name is Steve Trenum. Thank you for whomever gave me this. For Judy, how about an exaltation of larks as a group of things? That's in that dictionary of yours. exaltation of larks. Aside from French kisses and toothpaste, I hardly ever hear love poems read at these appearances, so I decided to read a couple. And the first one is as much about aging as it is a relationship. It's called Seams, and that's S-E-A-M-S. Am I close enough to this thing?
Yeah.
Okay, Seams. Oh, now I can see. In my truculent youth, I would take my radiant body outside to steam against the frigid moonlight before going back in to her bed once more. That road is now taken by the adolescent jogs of younger men, and I am off the beaten path that rambles on without me. I no longer seek to shock the cold night air. I now slip into the warm embrace of your comforter to sample your lovely bones with a more focused, gentler touch. You fashion from falling leaves the autumn fabric of my being. You do not sew hastily. You work my ragged, rough-hewn edges until my seams lie gracefully over your supple length and breadth. You are even more inviting than the bowl of ripe plums perched on the windowsill scenting the morning air. I do my very best to lead you astray. My hand goes gently there. The tips of my fingers chasse down the small of your back, over its scar-sown hollow, transforming that soft, pliant surface into an invitation to dance. Thank you. And this second poem is nothing but a love poem. It's called Being. I am the swirling, pleated skirt of the seasons, a slicing sweep of 6-foot wings. I am a hole in the sky, in the shape of the moon, letting the sun shine through. I am a sudden swell smoothing your shore. I am a great blue heron, draping ribbons of my passage along a tree-lined stream. I am a lone oak, standing in a field on this glistening global stone. But none of what I am will ever be the equal, will never be the equal of being loved by you. I just want to make an announcement because there's so many talented writers in this room. You may not have been aware, but a literary luminary of this country, and in fact the world, Dana Gioia, made an appearance last week at the Santa Rosa JC. So for those of you who did not get the benefit of seeing him, I've had it recorded, and it will be on the Arts and Lectures website, a portion of the JC. It wasn't up yesterday, but I will call the dean and see that it's up as soon as they can get it up, so that you can see this incredible person perform. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dana Gioia, he was the former director or chairperson of the National Endowment for the Arts. A couple of years ago, he was State Poet Laureate of California. He does translations in various languages. He writes opera libretti. He is an amazing fellow, and he's a revered literary critic. So he was marvelous to see, and the audience was very appreciative. So I'd like you to have the opportunity to see him too. So, Arts and Lectures website.
Thank you, Steve. That was great. Judith Vaughn. There you are. Somebody has to be after Steve. Come on. And we're in the final stretch. We have one more after this.
Bart, are you here? I didn't see you.
I knew there was a man before me, but it wasn't Steve.
We didn't see him, he snuck in.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
And Steve's a man.
Yes, he is. A miracle of a man. That's what Steve is. My name is Judith Vaughn, and I have 2 poems to read to you today. The first one is Redwood's Desire. Tamed by wind and rain, survivors of hot flames, 2 giant redwoods stand close, touching limbs in moonlight. Silver shimmers across ancient branches, deep roots stretch downward, grounding to the orb circling the sun. A great horned owl nesting in a bough scans the horizon, takes wing into night sky. Her owlets, sheltered in an abandoned hawk's nest, wait to feed. Connected to gravity's pull, they track the wake of their mother's ascent. 2 giant redwoods watch with envy the great owl soaring, swooping, unaware they too are flying in the firmament. The coming dawn, alive with sunlight and forest sounds, eases their desire for wings and flight until moon's silver light dances again. And my second poem is regarding John Coltrane, who is a pretty renowned jazz musician. I'm sure everyone in the room knows who he is, yes, or was. September 23rd, 1926, John Coltrane's birthday. I want to talk about John Coltrane, how dead stars fell to earth, cosmic dust revived as music formed in a placenta, developed in a mother's womb, not just any womb, that of Alice Blair Coltrane, the mothership of genius. The moment he came from between her legs, screamed out his birth cry, Gaia paused her son's trajectory, blessed him with the welcoming tune he carried for all his days and nights. He gathered his stardust into form, joined blue owls in flight, a mystical experience. He joined other incandescents, bird, mild, monk. They flew with blue owls on the backs of pentatonic scales, entered the realm of gods. Mortals listened, eyes closed, transported to a private land, lost to them in real time. Then he died. Cosmic dust carried him back to Empyrean sky, a young star, shining light and music.
Our next poet is Bart Scott. The sneaky Bart Scott.
Very glad to be here today, given that I thought it started at 4. It's a very much time. My name is Bart Scott, and these are 2 poems about family, which is what I think about. It is corduroy, the thread of the king.
the hallmark of college professors expounding on Milton while drinking the only lousy sherry they can afford. A fine accessory for a black turtleneck adorning the arm that punctuates a howl with the insistent glow of a camel chased with red wine from a jug. My avatars, Professor and Beatnik, why do they only drink cheap wine? It may have nothing to do with royalty. De Roy is a cloth made in England, they say, and not the stuff of courtiers in plumed hats. Indeed, it always looks rumpled, and it appears more at home at a Formica counter than among crystal chandeliers. Etymology lies. When my father died, I had it tailored to fit me. I was thin then. It is now snug on my shoulders. I rarely wear it. I'm always rumpled, and this distinctive cloth is redundant. It was different back then, unconscious of style and fashion. He wore what my mother commanded. Corduroy was the in thing, and he wore it like a king, draping his arm across my shoulder, telling me I would be all right, while the wails of the cloth bore down like a benediction. This one is to my mother. Les told me I shouldn't try and bring her, but she's shy, recalcitrant, and pig-headed, so she's not here.
And how old is she?
She's 105. And it's one of life's ironies that the black sheep out of 5 winds up the caregiver.
Karma.
Honor. On Sunday morning, I bathed my mother. I am returning the favor, I guess, many years after the fact. She is over 100 now. The body that entranced 2 husbands and bore 5 children is not what it used to be. She could outdrive men on the golf course, her back straight and limber. Now it is bent and stiff. Into her 90s in tennis togs, rising on the balls of her feet. She had a tennis serve that was impossible to return. She now shuffles, slowed by age. Her mind is still robust, and she resents the loss of control over her corporeal form. I steady her in the shower. Another fall could be catastrophic. For her, this body is an imposition, the indignity of living with need. If she is frail now, no matter. This woman, through force of character, taught me that women are not ornaments and that words have substance. An image from decades ago. It is evening at my mother's house, exhausted from a day of work. I fall asleep on her couch. Later she tells me, I look at you as you are in a moment, unshaven, rumpled, unhappy, but I see you in your entirety, from the cutting of the cord through your impetuous adolescence to your surprising transition to adulthood. Is this then what happens? Our lives are written on our bodies write our lives. It's not a short story instead, it's a Dickensian epic or Gilgamesh. It's a story of hope and joy and loss embedded with human contradictions. The hieroglyphics of her wrinkles speak of tenderness and passion, vulnerability and resilience, secret caresses and searing pain. As she pushes her walker, she is still the 18-year-old woman who, having fallen asleep in the library on a copy of Milton's Areopagitica, awoke to the impeccable smile and compelling gray eyes of the man who became my father.
And last but not least, Alethea, I hope I'm saying it right. I did it? Yes. Eason.
Thank you.
And a new member.
I really appreciate that because my other name is Althea or Alicia or Athena, so thank you. My name is Alethea Eason, and the poem I'm going to read was published in the New Mexico Poetry Anthology, which was released the week I moved back here to California, and I missed the readings there, so I'm very honored and happy to be able to read this one here. It's called Midnight Prayer. I took my body, my sore arm, excuse me, I'm gonna start again. I took my body, my sore shoulders and arms into the warm night. The wind stirred beneath the meteors obscured by clouds, jealousy guarding monsoons. Summer rains had been too polite, so I offered my Venus belly, my breasts that no longer lift, my legs with connect the dot moles, my gray hair, the lines that crisscrossed on my neck, and my two thin lips, all dressed up for the sweetness of standing naked on rough cement. The wind whirled the trees akimbo as it blew through their limbs. Rain fell somewhere near, though the mountains muted its thunder, for spirits had closed their rocky mouths. I reached out my arms anyway. My desire was to hear the message beneath the rattle of the cicadas, to dream as a deer on a bed of tamped grass, to make an elixir from the ashes left from the wildfire, to stand in beauty like the shell of a burned pine. My skin encoded the mountains, my toes curled on the coarse walkway as spirit and dirt molded my body. My mind endless as the desert spreading from the cloud-battered mountains. I sang the hidden music of the earth, songs forgotten except for when melodies whispered beneath branches draped with light, softer than birds' harmony in morning. All of this was alive in my body, and realms opened beyond worlds. I danced with fire sparkling off leaves, conjured from the innocence and a silver moon. This last Christmas Eve, I was in Fortuna, and I slept in a room full of windows with the full moon. So this was the inspiration for this poem. It's called Those Who Have Nothing Should Lead Us. The stars lay behind a corona of clouds, gray fingers stretched above the bed in the night room of enchantment. I dream for the woman I didn't become, to put her to rest, to scatter her ashes among the few starry flints that shine through the passing clouds and then disappear again. Those who have nothing should lead us. The zero of my soul, bare and broken, may be the wisest element on this night, with the seed of promise carried on winter air. The old world has grown weary except for this natal evening. Fingers swaddle the solstice. Everything paused, energy opened. Today, 1,000 miles away, the veteran without legs told his story to my friend in an Albuquerque storm with nothing to protect him. She had dry socks in her car, but gave him food in her heart's compassion, humbled by his lack of complaints, as the rain soaked through their clothes. He let the rain fall on his upturned face, his soul unbroken. Those who have nothing should lead us. Here, the gibbous moon is as round as Mary's belly. its fullness a manifesto of dissent. Time is a sleepless room without an oracle, with only prayer to hold the rising void from the sacred point of stillness. Over forests and deserts, in the ruins of expectations, in the life that wasn't lived, in the life on the street of a child broken yet unbroken. Those who have nothing should lead us. Thank you.
So I was hoping that all of our poets would stand up for a moment and the sign-up sheet for that. Okay, here they are.
A little bit. Some down here in front, kneeling maybe.
Stick it in front of the podium.
Well, if you can, yeah.
Let's get in front of the podium.
Well, no, that'll be, no, it's too close, Judy. It's too close.
Is that too, is this
Yeah.
good?
We can just move the podium.
Yeah, move the podium, yeah.
We're moving the podium.
Now, right where Brianna is, that's a perfect distance. Very nice, yes. Could you do the walk too, the cakewalk, whatever they call that thing? Yeah. A little bit closer, a little bit closer. Couple out kneeling in front of the small guys. Linda.
I have no problem doing this. I may not be able to get back up, but I can still do it. Oh, no, you want to be in the center.
Yeah, no, that's great.
You want to be
Yeah.
in the center. You should be in the center. Les?
Yeah, there you are.
That's okay.
No, come on.
Oh, you should be in Les. Come on, Les.
I guess everybody needs a short person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come in small packages. Always.
Okay, everybody.
Everybody say Sisora.
Sisora.